You're listening to the Cyberwire Network, powered by N2K.
Hey everybody, Dave here. I've talked about Delete Me before, and I'm still using it because it still works. It's been a few months now, and I'm just as impressed today as I was when I signed up. Delete Me keeps finding and removing my personal information from data broker sites, and they keep me updated with detailed reports, so I know exactly what's been taken down. I'm genuinely relieved knowing my privacy isn't something I have to worry about every day. The Delete Me team handles everything. It's the set it and forget it peace of mind. And it's not just for individuals. Delete Me also offers solutions for businesses, helping companies protect their employees' personal information and reduce exposure to social engineering and phishing threats. And right now, our listeners get a special deal, 20% off your Delete Me plan. Just go to joindeleteme.com/N2K and use promo code N2K at checkout. That's joindeleteme.com/N2K, code N2K. UK police make multiple arrests in the retail cyberattack case. French authorities arrest a Russian basketball player at the request of the US. A German court declares open season on Meta's tracking pixels. The European Union unveils new rules to regulate artificial intelligence. London's Iran International News confirms cyberattacks from Banished Kitten. Treasury sanctions a North Korean hacker over fake IT worker schemes. Microsoft confirms a widespread issue preventing organizations from deploying the latest Windows updates. Agreements over AI help end a year-long Hollywood strike. Researchers take an in-depth look at ClickFix. I'm joined by Ben Yelin and Ethan Cook for a look at Congress's recent attempts to limit AI regulation through preemption. And password insecurity with a side of fries. It's Thursday, July 10th, 2025. I'm Dave Bittner, and this is your Cyberwire Intel Briefing. Thanks for joining us here today. It's great, as always, to have you with us. 4 people, all under the age of 21, have been arrested over cyber attacks that hit major UK retailers, including Marks & Spencer, Co-op, and Harrods, the National Crime Agency said. The April ransomware attacks on M&S was the most severe, shutting down online clothing sales for nearly 7 weeks and costing about $400 million in operating profit. Those arrested were detained in London and the West Midlands on suspicion of blackmail, money laundering, computer misuse, and organized crime. M&S chairman Archie Norman said the attackers were loosely aligned parties led by Dragon Force, and he noted FBI involvement. He urged laws requiring firms to report serious cyber attacks, revealing 2 recent major incidents in the UK went unreported. French authorities arrested Russian basketball player Daniil Kasatkin, age 26, at Paris's Charles de Gaulle Airport on June 21st, at the request of the U.S., where he's accused of involvement in a ransomware hacking ring. U.S. officials allege Kasatkin negotiated ransom payments for a group that hacked about 900 companies and 2 federal agencies between 2020 and 2022. Kasatkin denies the charges, claiming he bought a used computer and is useless with computers, according to his lawyer. The Paris court denied his bail, meaning he remains in custody facing possible extradition. Kasatkin, who played for Penn State in 2018 and 2019, and most recently for Moscow's MBA-MAI, had traveled to France with his fiancée. His lawyer said his physical condition in detention threatens his basketball career. A German court has ordered Meta to pay 5,000 euros to a Facebook user for embedding tracking pixels and SDKs in third-party websites without user consent, violating GDPR. The Leipzig Regional Court ruled Meta's tracking technology collects personal data even if users aren't logged in to Facebook or Instagram, enabling profiling for profit. This precedent allows other users to sue without proving individual damages. Experts warn the ruling could lead to massive class action lawsuits against Meta and any websites using its tracking tools without consent, potentially resulting in business-breaking fines. Experts called it one of Europe's most significant rulings this year, noting 5,000 euros per visitor could multiply rapidly for sites with large user bases. The European Union has unveiled new rules to regulate artificial intelligence, targeting powerful general-purpose AI systems like those from OpenAI, Microsoft, and Google. The guidelines, part of the AI Act passed last year, require companies to improve transparency, limit copyright violations, and protect public safety. Tech firms must disclose what data trains their models and conduct risk assessments to prevent misuse, such as creating biological weapons. The voluntary code of practice takes effect on August 2nd, with penalties enforceable from 2026. While EU officials say the rules promote innovation and safety, critics argue they were weakened to gain industry support. Some fear strict regulation will hamper Europe's competitiveness against the US and China. Google and OpenAI are reviewing the guidelines. Microsoft declined to comment. The rules follow growing concerns about AI misuse, including recent anti-Semitic comments by Elon Musk's chatbot Grok. The AI Act will take full effect in the coming years. Iran International, a Persian-language 24/7 television news network based in London, confirmed that materials published from its journalists' hacked Telegram accounts are linked to 2 cyberattacks in summer 2024 and January of this year. The news outlet said hackers may have installed malware on journalists' computers through compromised Telegram accounts. Iranian state media published screenshots from internal chats earlier this week. The attacks were carried out by Banished Kitten, also known as Storm 0842 and Dune, a group operating under Iran's Ministry of Intelligence. Iran International said the hacks are part of a broader intimidation campaign, including physical threats against staff. The channel stated it has taken measures to protect employees and will continue its mission of delivering independent, uncensored news. Iran International has been labeled a terrorist organization by Tehran and has faced threats before, including the stabbing of one of their hosts in London in 2024 and a terrorist conviction against a man filming its premises in 2023. The U.S. Treasury has sanctioned North Korean hacker Song Kum-hyok for his role in the Andariel Group, a subcluster of Lazarus focused on ransomware and crypto heists. Song facilitated schemes using stolen U.S. identities to help DPRK IT workers get remote jobs at American companies, splitting their income to fund North Korea's weapons programs. Some workers also installed malware and stole data from employers. Andariel, also known as APT-45 or Silent Kolima, operates under North Korea's Reconnaissance General Bureau. Microsoft has confirmed a widespread issue affecting Windows Server Update Services, WSUS, preventing organizations from syncing with Microsoft Update and deploying the latest Windows updates. The system normally syncs daily, but since last night, admins have reported failed sync attempts with errors such as a connection attempt failed and .NET timeouts. Microsoft identified the root cause as a problematic update revision in the storage layer that blocks synchronization. The issue began about 12:30 a.m. Eastern Time and affects both automatic and manual syncs. Microsoft says there are currently no workarounds and that they are working on a fix. Hollywood video game voice and motion capture actors have signed a new contract with game studios, ending a nearly year-long strike. The deal includes AI consent and disclosure requirements to protect performers, along with safety measures and medics for high-risk motion capture jobs. Actors will receive a 15% pay increase, with additional raises through 2027. SAG-AFTRA highlighted AI protections as the key achievement, with negotiation committee member Sarah El-Maleh calling AI the centerpiece of their proposal package. Palo Alto Network's Unit 42 has published an in-depth analysis of ClickFix, the rising social engineering technique where attackers trick users into running malicious commands disguised as quick fixes for computer issues. Campaigns in 2025 include Net Support Rat, Lactrodectus malware, and LumaStealer, targeting sectors from finance to healthcare. ClickFix lures often abuse legitimate brands like DocuSign or Okta and exploit clipboard injection, instructing victims to paste harmful PowerShell commands. These attacks bypass standard detection as victims execute malware themselves, enabling credential theft, rat infections, and ransomware. Hunting tips include reviewing Run MRU registry keys, EDR telemetry, clipboard use, and Event ID 4688 for suspicious process launches. Palo Alto urges organizations to deploy strong detection, educate employees, and remain vigilant as ClickFix evolves rapidly across global attack campaigns. Coming up after the break, my conversation with Ben Yelin and Ethan Cook. We're looking at Congress's recent attempt to limit AI regulation through preemption. And password insecurity with a side of fries. Stay with us. Compliance regulations, third-party risk, and customer security demands are all growing and changing fast. Is your manual GRC program actually slowing you down? If you're thinking there has to be something more efficient than spreadsheets, screenshots, and all those manual processes, you're right. GRC can be so much easier, and it can strengthen your security posture while actually driving revenue for your business. You know, one of the things I really like about Vanta is how it takes the heavy lifting out of your GRC program. Their trust management platform automates those key areas: compliance, internal and third-party risk, and even customer trust, so you're not buried under spreadsheets and endless manual tasks. Vanta really streamlines the way you gather and manage information across your entire business. And this isn't just theoretical. A recent IDC analysis found that compliance teams using Vanta are 129% more productive. It's a pretty impressive number. So what does it mean for you? It means you get back more time and energy to focus on what actually matters, like strengthening your security posture and scaling your business. Vanta, GRC. Just imagine how much easier trust can be. Visit vanta.com/cyber to sign up today for a free demo. That's vanta.com/cyber. CISOs and CIOs know machine identities now outnumber humans by more than 80 to 1. And without securing them, trust, uptime, outages, and compliance are at risk. CyberArk is leading the way with the only unified platform purpose-built to secure every machine identity, certificates, secrets, and workloads across all environments, all clouds, and all AI agents. Designed for scale, automation, and quantum readiness, CyberArk helps modern enterprises secure their machine future. Visit cyberark.com/machines to see how. Ben Yelin is my co-host over on the Caveat podcast. And on our most recent episode, we were joined by our N2K colleague Ethan Cook. We took a look at Congress's recent attempt to limit AI regulation through preemption. So, Ethan, you have written up quite a set of notes for us to discuss preemption here today. Maybe I start with you. Give us a little insights into this journey as you took on this topic.
Yeah, so, there was a weird thing going on in Congress that we haven't seen in a little bit. And it's not that it's haven't happened before, and it's not that it's not been, popular before, but it's not necessarily the flashy thing to talk about, but it had a lot of impact. And that was a moratorium going through the House at the time and has now gone through and failed in the Senate. But the whole point of it was to use federal preemption to negate all state AI laws that have been passed already and prevent any other ones from being passed for the next 10 years, which when you say that out loud, sounds really extreme and kind of convoluted and the antithesis of what honestly both parties kind of put forward, which is that we value states having opinions. There's a value there. No one really ever says states shouldn't ever be able to have any say over a matter. And this whole moratorium felt completely the opposite. It felt like it was a complete removal of power. And this has been done before. And it gained a lot of notoriety very quickly. And, as we were talking, Ben pointed out that this, while is a kind of off the beat subject, it had a lot of relevance and was worth looking into. And, since then, and after doing my research and writing this up, I would agree. This is a very interesting topic, and I think it's going to set up a larger conversation about what AI policy looks like in the next 5 years.
Ben, what do you make of this?
So first of all, I want to thank you guys and our audience for indulging, because this is really nerding out on a legal concept. But I hope to try and illustrate why I think preemption is such an important topic. Because a lot of what we discuss on this podcast are laws and policies. And in case you haven't noticed, Congress, though they've been a little bit more productive this year, is slow to address societal problems. It's polarized. It is famously inefficient. It has arcane rules that prevent just the routine passage of small pieces of legislation, things like requiring unanimous consent in the Senate for most things and having a 60-vote threshold for most things to get through the Senate. So that leaves the states, and the states generally are well-positioned. The Constitution gives states police powers to protect the health, safety, and welfare of their citizens. As long as states are not violating the federal Constitution or their own state constitutions, they can pass laws on anything. And they do. I think I mentioned in one of our previous episodes that Maryland just officially labeled the Orange Crush as our official cocktail.
Wow.
I didn't know that.
I did not know that.
Always on top of the critical issues here.
Okay.
So what makes preemption so interesting is it's the federal government taking the keys away from state governments and their ability to experiment with laws and regulations, especially on topics like artificial intelligence, where things are rapidly developing and state legislators and legislatures need to be nimble and to be able to develop fast-acting policy solutions to address problems that are impacting their citizens. And the reason that this AI provision, which ultimately failed, as you said, raised my eyebrows is that this would have handcuffed the states from responding to new developments in AI. We've had executive orders from the past two presidential administrations. Not much of that is kind of like binding policy. So it would be, all right, federal government hasn't passed any AI regulation. State governments can't pass any AI regulation. So who's going to protect us?
So before we dig into the details of this AI policy, can we touch on some of the history here? I mean, what is there in the Constitution that gives the feds the power to preempt the states?
So this comes from the Supremacy Clause, which says that federal laws are the supreme law of the land. The caveat to that, so to speak, is that Congress is limited to its enumerated powers. So Congress could only pass laws pursuant to Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution, which has a list of things Congress can do. Because this was written in the 1780s, a lot of these items that are listed in Article 1, Section 8 seem kind of silly. But there are a few things that still apply: raising and supporting armies, protecting intellectual property. Those are domains of the federal government. The kind of catch-all that's been used to justify a lot of federal action is Congress's ability to regulate interstate commerce. So if Congress wanted to step in and regulate artificial intelligence, they could say, and Supreme Court precedent would back them up, that because this has a substantial effect on interstate commerce, Congress has the power to regulate it. So when you're in an area where Congress has an enumerated power, because of the supremacy clause, whatever Congress does usurps or supersedes the actions of state governments. So that's where the notion of preemption comes from. What the Supreme Court has held is that Congress has to be pretty specific and explicit about preempting state action.
Yeah. All right. Well, Ethan, what can you tell us about the history of this AI preemption? Any insights on its origin?
Yeah, so as many people have probably been aware of, there is a bill that just recently got passed that I think has been the big, beautiful bill, right?
Yeah.
And it is our reconciliation bill for this year. And it has got a lot of feedback, both good and bad, over the past couple weeks. And probably the most infamous moment it had was when it passed the House the first time, when a 2015 to 2014 vote, very, very narrow. And there was a lot of criticism, specifically to Republican lawmakers who had the majority, that this bill came together very quickly. It was not read through. It was voted upon and passed to the Senate without really any debate or discussion. And one of the things that happened after it went to the Senate was people started kind of breaking it down and actually looking what was in this thing. And they discovered this moratorium. And it gained a lot of pushback instantly from people basically saying that, on both sides of the aisle, by the way, this was not just a Democratic pushback saying that this is not what we're about. We don't have anything in place federally to kind of cover our bases. We're taking away efforts. Obviously, state legislators were a lot of state lawmakers came out, were very perceived about this. And the only real argument in favor of this was basically saying that, yeah, we are pulling this because we currently have too many state laws, and it is creating confusion. And what this whole process is doing is causing us to both lose economic advancement and technological innovation. And that was the crux of the argument of why we should preempt state laws in this. And then, and then I think the maybe goal was we would pass something eventually that would, at the federal level, that would legislate this and, bring some guidance. And then it went to a while in the Senate, and after it was approved by the Senate parliamentarian, Republicans pretty much unanimously pulled support for the moratorium, and it overwhelmingly failed to pass in the Senate and was killed before it was passed back to House, and the reconciliation bill was eventually passed in general.
So this bill provides AI-empowered broadband funding to help set up rural broadband across the country. And states would only be eligible for that broadband money if they did not regulate artificial intelligence. So it was kind of the carrot instead of the stick approach.
Right, like the old 55-mile-an-hour speed limit.
Right, or the classic drinking age one, where it's if you bring it to 21, we won't slash your funding. But if you keep it under, you can, but you just won't get the money.
Right, and so it was, that sort of approach was held to be constitutional in those two circumstances. But then President Obama, through Obamacare, tried a different tactic in terms of conditioning funding. So they passed the Affordable Care Act with this pretty large expansion of Medicaid. And they said to the states, you either accept this expansion of Medicaid or you will lose all of your Medicaid funding. And the Supreme Court said that was too coercive. It was the federal government basically putting a gun to the head of the state. So I don't know how courts would have seen this. I think this is somewhere between drinking age and Medicaid. I don't think it's on either polar end. But that's kind of where the constitutional question would have lied, is this policy overly coercive? Is it forcing states to do something basically completely against their will? But then I think Marsha Blackburn kind of started to pull away from that deal, and I think Cruz realized he didn't have the votes. They actually put an amendment up to during consideration of the bill in the Senate to strip out this AI preemption provision, and it passed 99-1, which is just very interesting. So what's the point in supporting this provision?
Right.
It's not like it's politically popular.
Wasn't worth fighting over.
Yeah.
I saw at one point he tried to cut it down to 5 years instead of 10.
Yeah, I mean, I think
they
was
tried
really...
like 4 different things. They were going back in negotiations to try and make it work. It was approved by the parliamentarian. It was then unapproved by the parliamentarian. It was then reapproved by the parliamentarian. So it went back and forth through multiple iterations within the Senate, and ultimately just never gained the support they needed.
Yeah, and so at the end of the day, this provision didn't pass. I think from our perspective, it's worth noting what kind of state regulations this would have preempted. States have started to take action on AI policy, setting up governance structures for AI, promulgating rules on which AI tools can be used by various government agencies, doing inventory of AI systems in state government offices. Certainly in the criminal realm, restrictions on deepfake pornography. California passed a law restricting the use of artificial intelligence in political advertising. So depending on the version of this moratorium that would have passed, all of those laws would have been declared null and void because of this preemption provision.
Be sure to check out the complete episode of Caveat right here on the N2K Cyberwire Network or wherever you get your favorite podcasts. And now, a word from our sponsor, ThreatLocker, the powerful zero-trust enterprise solution that stops ransomware in its tracks. Allow Listing is a deny-by-default software that makes application control simple and fast. Ring fencing is an application containment strategy, ensuring apps can only access the files, registry keys, network resources, and other applications they truly need to function. Shut out cybercriminals with world-class endpoint protection from ThreatLocker.
What does every USAA member have in common? Family. We're one big family who supports the military community and their eligible families. And if you, your parent, or spouse served, you could join our family and save big on auto insurance. Visit USAA.com/join today to check your eligibility. Membership eligibility and product restrictions apply and are subject to change. USAA means United Services Automobile Association and its affiliates, San Antonio, Texas.
And finally, if you're applying to McDonald's these days, prepare to charm Olivia, the AI chatbot gatekeeper who screens resumes and asks personality test questions with all the warmth of a soggy French fry. But Olivia had a secret. Her platform, run by Paradox AI, could be breached with the cybersecurity equivalent of leaving the drive-thru cash drawer open, a password of 123456. Security researchers Ian Carroll and Sam Curry stumbled upon this password tragedy while wondering why burger flippers needed to impress a chatbot. Within half an hour of applying, they accessed up to 64 million applicant records dating back years, thanks to laughably weak security and basic web vulnerabilities. Paradox AI swiftly admitted the oversight, insisting no one else access the data and vowing to launch a bug bounty program. McDonald's, meanwhile, said it was disappointed in Paradox AI. It was never their intent to serve up a potential data leak. You want fries with that? And that's the Cyberwire. For links to all of today's stories, check out our daily briefing at thecyberwire.com. We'd love to hear from you. We're conducting our annual audience survey to learn more about our listeners. We're collecting your insights through the end of this summer. There's a link in the show notes. Please do check it out. N2K's senior producer is Alice Carruth. Our Cyberwire producer is Liz Stokes. We're mixed by Trey Hester with original music by Elliot Peltzman. Our executive producer is Jennifer Iben. Peter Kilpie is our publisher, and I'm Dave Bittner. Thanks for listening. We'll see you back here tomorrow. And now a word from our sponsor, SpyCloud. Identity is the new battleground, and attackers are exploiting stolen identities to infiltrate your organization. Traditional defenses can't keep up. SpyCloud's holistic identity threat protection helps security teams uncover and automatically remediate hidden exposures across your users, from breaches, malware, and phishing to neutralize identity-based threats like account takeover, fraud, and ransomware. Don't let invisible threats compromise your business. Get your free corporate darknet exposure report at spycloud.com/cyberwire and see what attackers already know. That's spycloud.com/cyberwire.